Okay. So thank you so much, Rajesh, for showing interest in our estimation session. Okay. It is of great pleasure and happiness to meet you, to ensure that we learn, and I also learn in the process of discussion of what project estimation is. And I will also be able to share my minimum experience, and you will also be able to share your experiences on how we can mutually learn in the discussion. It is not going to be a one-sided discussion, Rajesh. It's going to be a collaborative exchange as well. So if you feel that it's something that you can share, please consider it. Okay. So this is about this is an estimation workshop. This is my YouTube channel, which I'm sure you are aware of, and that's my LinkedIn profile. Okay. So this is the agenda. Let me show the screen fully. First of all, let us try to understand why we need estimation. The estimation as a concept is from the basis of what we call measurement. Why do we need measurement? And for what are we trying to measure? What is the unit we are trying to measure? And what are we trying to arrive at by this measurement? And what is the need for estimation? If you see, when we are getting measurement, we should be happy, right? But then there's something that is deterring us from actually taking some informed decision. So what is that which is preventing us from taking an informed decision? So that is where estimation is coming into picture. What are the kinds of estimations which we will be using? I will touch upon all the key concepts, because estimation as such is a huge science. As I told you the other day, the time when I'm born till the time I'm leaving this world itself is a huge estimate, which the divine has intentionally concealed from our knowledge. So the point of estimation is right there from the time we are born till the time we leave the world. Okay. And to be more specific, since you are telling me that we are talking more about adaptive or agile projects, what kind of estimates are used? And what is the kind of rate of learning that we are having from the knowledge of estimation? The most used concept is what you call as a planning poker. What kind of expectations are we setting to stakeholders? And some minimum level of conclusion remarks. This is the agenda which we are having.
Sure.
Is this agenda fine enough, Rajesh?
Yeah. Please go ahead. No problem.
Fine.
For me, this is absolutely, it's absolutely a new subject. So I will be listening more than I will be questioning, because, only after I understand and, get involved in some level of estimations in my organization, I will probably be able to ask more questions pertaining to that.
Perfect.
Sure, please go ahead.
If you have anything in specific to add, we will see if we can relate that to these topics.
Definitely. Kandipa.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now let us see. I'm sure you and I have definitely been to some kind of a shop for a kind of a purchase. They say,
okay,
why don't you buy 1 kg of rice? I'm sure your spouse sends you, right? 1 kg அரிசி வாங்க, 1 kg vegetable வாங்கிட்டாங்க, 1 kg பழம் வாங்கிட்டாங்க, காய்கறி வாங்கிட்டாங்கங்கறா. ஆனா the point is, if she says 1 kg, is it exactly 1 kg?
It may or may not.
It could be in a range, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now I'm coming back to the same industry, just travel, transportation, hospitality, logistics. When we are actually marking the number of passengers to board in an aircraft, and if the capacity of the Airbus 320 is around 168 passengers, is it running every day 168 passengers?
No.
Not necessarily, right? Now, there is something called as a min max and a min max. An aircraft having 168 capacity cannot load 170 passengers.
Correct.
Standing is not allowed in aircraft, right? In a bus, it's not in an Airbus, right? Okay.
Correct.
Now, the second thing is, supposing the number of passengers is just 3. Is there any worth in the start?
No.
Because the cost of escalation of the aircraft, fuel escalation, labor charges, all of this is financially intensive. So just by saying for the sake of 3 passengers, it's not possible to run an aircraft, right? But then when the number of passengers is around 110 or 125, 130, some meaning, right?
Correct.
So we are approaching what is called as a min-max and kind of project estimation measurement. Okay. The point is, what I'm trying to give you here is, if I am representing something by its absolute value. Today, if I say today around 1.5 hours will be used, 1.5 hours will be spent to complete this session. Around, when I'm saying around, it can mean lesser or it can mean little more.
Correct.
But if I say today we are going to spend exactly 1.5 hours and we have a hard stop at that, then that's a finite number, right?
Correct. Correct.
So this is where we need to understand two concepts. One is what you call as an absolute measurement. I'll come to that.
Okay.
Okay. What is an absolute measurement? An absolute measurement is what you call as an exact value. Now, the point is, if I say that 2 into 3 is 6, I cannot say that 2 into 3 is approximately or around 6. It's not going to work.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
But at the same time, if I want to say, let us say, fit 6 in rivets onto an aircraft, I will say, please order around 10 rivets. But in the minimum, you will be fixing 6 rivets. But you need that as a backup quantity, which is what you call as an economic order quantity, right? I'm not going to get into operations business. That's a different science altogether. But that is actually the basis of estimation. We need to remember that.
Correct.
Estimation as a science is primarily driven there. And most points, including me, all of us included, we don't even want to look at that subject. And then we say that the estimates are wrong.
Correct.
Fundamentals are not there. How is the number going to come up, right? So this is where exactly we are trying to arrest the incorrect or the, what I would say, the deviated understanding of fundamentals to ensure that we get what we want, right?
Correct.
Now,
Correct.
Sorry, Rajesh, you asked me a question?
No, I didn't. I mean, I quite understand, especially with projects and stuff like that. It is very, very kind of difficult to come to an absolute value. But just one of my questions, which stems from my understanding, or very layman's understanding. If you were to compare estimation processes in a typical waterfall kind of a project versus an agile.
I'm coming to that. Please park your questions for that. I'm coming to that. Okay. We'll discuss all of that in detail. Okay.
Okay. Now my question, I will tell you what I was thinking about is, they say that when it comes to waterfall projects, the scope is fixed. Everybody knows what they are working towards. So in those kind of projects, is there still a problem with coming to an absolute estimation, or even there in those kind of projects, do they have that it may be around this much? So that's a question which you can address later when you come to it. But that is what that was a question that came to my mind when we were talking about it.
Okay, we'll come to that. All of those concepts we'll definitely touch upon, because those are the parameters which are eventually going to contribute to our final number.
Sure.
Okay, we'll come to that. Now, I'll ask you a question. Can you tell me what is the height of the Statue of Liberty, or maybe what is the height of the temple, big temple of Tanjavur? Exact height, can you tell me?
No, I really don't know the exact height. I would say it's about 200 feet approximately. I'm just estimating.
Okay, fine. Sir, can you tell me what is the height of your house?
Height of my house?
Yes.
Well, I've never really measured it.
Okay.
I know it's on the 3rd floor, but that's it. Just give me a minute.
That is precisely the point. See, we are all mortals. I'm not talking about supernatural human beings. குருநாதர்கள் பத்தி நான் பேசல. என்ன என்னையும் உங்களையும் மாதிரி சராசரி மனுஷனை பத்தி தான் நான் பேசுறேன். புரிஞ்சுதா? So when I say that if I'm not able to measure the height of the ceiling from where I'm standing, if I'm not able to guess the number, how am I going to guess the height of something even more taller, like the Taj Mahal, or maybe the Brihadishwara temple, or the Statue of Liberty, or the Al Burj, or whatever? Exact one in the number, is it possible to give? The problem with humans is we are incapacitated to give the exact numbers because of our sphere of thinking. We have certain limitations in our thinking. That is where the mortal limit and that is where the immortal limit comes. So the science here is humans have a tendency which is preventing them to get to the absolute value or the real number in the measurement. So if your spouse says, please go and get me 1 kg of rice, she probably meant 750 grams, but this is just a spillover. The 250 grams will come for a just in case. It's anyway not going to be spoiled. So tomorrow, if there's a need, if I'm anticipating some extra guests, or if for some reason I need to put extra food for some function or whatever, then I remember you telling me, right? You're doing something for your for a father, right? So if I'm saying 1 kg rice and all of a sudden, if the demand is 101.5, then what will you do? Naturally go ahead and buy 2 kgs, right?
Correct.
Just to avoid last minute shaming of things.
Correct.
To ensure that we do this. So that is where this is what we call as padding. I'm coming to that padding na enna appuram ungalta solren. Okay, so basically it is increasingly difficult for humans to arrive at absolute values of number. And the point here is, irrespective of whatever the cost, time, or whatever the metric that you're trying to showcase, the stakeholders have their viewpoint. You have your viewpoint. And when you try to match your viewpoint with their viewpoint, there is always a sphere of disturbance. And this goal of absolute estimation is to ensure that you actually reach the actual value, but in reality, you find it difficult because of various reasons of the thinking component of man. You will not be able to get the exact value for whatever the reason. Okay. You will be able to figure out something that is more or less in the range. But if I'm saying, if I'm the path on it, exact check man, unless he has done prior estimation on that, I'm going to come to that. That's another topic of estimation. It becomes very, very difficult for us to arrive at exact values and numbers. Is this understanding clear, Rajesh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a minute. Our person is there to just sweep the floor. Just a minute. Let me grab some water. Okay. So, this is absolute estimation. Okay, yeah. This I will tell you. நம்ம ஆபீஸ்ல போய் பார்த்து பேசும்போது, ஏய் உனக்கு எவ்வளவுடா சம்பளம், எனக்கு எவ்வளவு, அப்ப what do you do? Don't you compare the two?
Correct.
டேய் என்னோட 3 வருஷம் கம்மி, உனக்கு என்னோட 1.5 மடங்கு ஜாஸ்தி சம்பளம் வருது, நாதாரி உனக்கு எப்படிடா வந்தது? கேட்கணும் தோணுமா தோணாத, மனசுக்கு தோணுமா தோணாத. Have you not?
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
So the point what I'm trying to convey in here very clearly is, human beings are very good at relatively assessing things. என் புள்ள பாரு இவ்வளவு பண்ணிருக்கான், என் பொண்ணு பாரு இவ்வளவு பண்ணிருக்கான், நீ என்னடா கேட்ற அப்படின்னு சொல்ற தெரியுமா? So the point is, it is not that நீ பண்ணுங்கிற பேச்சு இல்லாம போயிடுது. அவன் பண்ணா பாரு, இவன் பண்ணா பாரு, அவன் கண்டிஷன் என்ன, அவன் எப்படி பண்ணா, இவனால என்ன பண்ண முடியும், அந்த சிச்சுவேஷன் அனாலிசிஸே இல்லாத போயிடுது. So that comparison, and that comparison is essentially the basis. But how are we going to arrive at an advantageous number on account of this process is basically the basis of relative estimation. If I'm saying I am the aero engine is around let us say around 12 meters from the baseline of the ground, base level of the ground. And the base level 12 மீட்டர் மேல இருந்தாதான் என்னுடைய அந்த இறங்குவல் தெரியுமா ஸ்டெப்ஸ், அப்புறம் அந்த ஏரோ பிரிட்ஜ்லாம் வந்து 15 மீட்டர் மேல இருந்தாதான் நான் கனெக்ட் பண்ண முடியும். That is how the design factor itself has been included. And the aero bridge வந்து அதோட கம்மியா இருந்தாக்க it may not be able to match and that will result in unwanted problems. அப்படி நம்ம சொல்றது தெரியுமா? So how has that been done? Unless you do a set of relative estimation over and then finally revise that value, absolute numbers are not a reality to arrive at.
No, absolutely. I mean, I quite take this even with an example when you're comparing, two different types of aircraft also. When you say, okay, relative to the A320, the Boeing 737 is more fuel efficient. So it's basically not, it's not, we are able to make comparisons, of course, but on basis of certain parameters.
Exactly.
Okay. But so I can understand when you're saying relative estimation, it is there, but how does this relate into a project kind of or in a software kind of a scenario is something that, probably you can touch upon later. In a general term, I'm able to understand.
See, I am trying to put it in as simple terms as possible because this is a huge science and we get into too many technicalities, you will start feeling bored about this.
correct,
Okay.
correct. No, understandable.
இத போய் நம்ம வந்து ரொம்ப டீடைலா போய் பேச வச்சுக்கோங்க, நமக்கு தேவையில்லாத சப்ஜெக்டா போயிடும். ஓகேயா? Now I'm going to come back to the same concept. இப்ப வந்து measurements, numerical values வந்து representing the magnitude. என்ன இது என்ன லார்ஜ் சைஸா, மீடியம் சைஸா, ஸ்மால் சைஸா? இந்த தொடுத்த பூ நீங்க உங்க ஆத்துக்காரி சொல்லுவா தெரியுமா? அந்த தொடுத்த பூ வந்து பெருசா இருக்கணும், பூ சின்ன பூ வாங்கினதானே திருப்பி அனுப்பிச்சு விட்டுறேன் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவா தெரியுமா? ஸ்மால், மீடியம், லார்ஜ் தெரியாதா உங்களுக்கு? So it is basically the magnitude of the numbers which is actually considered. ஓகேயா? 2 யூனிட், 3 யூனிட், 5 யூனிட். So basically what are we trying to understand? This depicts the extent to which you are considering the entities. அத நம்ம ரிலேட்டிவா பார்த்தாதான் இந்த சின்ன மல்லிப்பூ இதோட வந்து 1 மடங்கு 2 மடங்கு பெருசா இருக்குடா, இது இந்த செம்பருத்தி பூவோட 4 மடங்கு பெருசா இருக்குடா. சோ அப்ப பார்த்தேன்னா the comparison between a little jasmine and a hibiscus is around 2 or 3 times in magnitude. So பார்த்தேன்னா the universe itself revolves around relative estimation.
Right.
சூரியனுக்கும் சந்திரனுக்கும் என்ன கம்பேரிசன்?
கரெக்ட்.
சூரியனுக்கும் பூமிக்கும் வந்து 108 மடங்கு அப்படியே ரிலேட்டிவிட்டி. அதான் 108 காயத்ரி ஜபம் பண்றோம், 108 ஜபம் நம்ம பண்றோம், நம்ம சாஸ்திரம் சொல்றதா இல்லையா? How did we arrive at that number? It is because of that யோஜனா and the measurement. அது once again that's a different science. அதெல்லாம் நம்ம சாஸ்திரத்துல இல்லாத எதுவும் இல்ல. பட் நமக்கு இன்னைக்கு தேவையோ அது என்ன உண்டோ நம்ம பார்ப்போம். இத பேசுற தனி சப்ஜெக்ட் நான் அப்புறம் பேசுறேன் உங்கள்ட்ட. ஓகேயா?
கண்டிப்பா.
There's too much of subject to be discussed on this. So the point is, if you say that இந்த என்ன சொல்றது சார், the length வந்து 1, என்ன length 1 ன்னா என்ன அர்த்தம்? ஒரு யானையா, ஒரு பன்னியா, ஒரு கோழியா, ஒரு ஆடா, என்ன? What is it? What is that unit with which you are measuring? நமக்கு யூனிட் என்னன்னு தெரியலன்னு வெச்சுக்கோங்களேன், it becomes difficult. இப்ப பவரை நம்ம வந்து வாட்ஸ் மெஷர் பண்ணோம், கரண்ட்டை வந்து நம்ம வந்து ஆம்பியர்ஸ் மெஷர் பண்றோம், பொட்டன்ஷியலை நம்ம வோல்டேஜ் மெஷர் பண்றோம். So volt ampere அப்படின்னு வருது தெரியுமா? That is nothing but a wattage. Okay, நம்ம APU measurement அதெல்லாம் பண்ணிருக்கோம், உங்களுக்கு தெரியும் நிச்சயமா. என்னோட you are there in that domain, so you will definitely be able to
correct. Absolutely.
Okay, absolutely. So the reason why we need something as a dimensional analysis and value is, if you cannot measure something, you cannot monitor that.
Correct.
And if you cannot monitor, you cannot control. The whole point in monitoring and controlling is, if you cannot monitor and control, the whole thing cannot be directed towards actual business expectations.
Correct.
Sir, absolutely. ஒண்ணுமே வேண்டாம் சார், ஒண்ணுமே வேண்டாம். இன்னைக்கு நமக்கு வந்து entry of the passengers today, the aircraft is the airport is a restricted entity. என்ன, unless you have Aadhaar or any other national identifier, you are not allowed inside the airport னு சொல்லிருக்கீங்க. Per day only 200 people are allowed inside the airport னு சொன்னாக்க 600 people வந்தா நீங்க எப்படி மானிட்டர் பண்ண முடியும்? Correct. Anything and anything can happen under the sun, considering today's volatile situation.
And if you don't monitor that, if something untoward happens, it cannot be controlled at
the whole entity becomes questionable. Can you imagine what happens? இந்த மாதிரி சென்னையில ஏர்போர்ட்ல ஏதாவது ஆச்சுன்னா, what kind of trust will be there in the customers? அடுத்தவங்க வருவாங்க, ஷிப்ல போனாலும் பிளேன்ல வர மாட்டேன் அப்படின்றான்.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So that is where this monitoring and controlling comes into picture, and that is where the linkage between monitoring and controlling and estimation is actually needed. Now, if I'm giving an estimate, it is actually giving us a range and a fair idea to say how far or how near I am from the certainty of the project scope activity. இப்ப நீங்க வந்து இந்த PSSல வந்து என்ன சொல்றேனாக்க, இந்த PSSல வந்து if you are actually doing an estimation saying that இன்னைக்கு இந்த line of code வந்து if I'm linking this with Amadeus system or maybe with Sabre system, it is going to take 10% days, 12% days நீங்க estimate கொடுப்பீங்க. How you are taking a conditional analysis on how many team members are actually working in that project. Okay, what is their per day capacity, and the per day capacity which with knowledge and the seniority, இத வச்சு நீங்க assessment கொடுத்து 12 நாள்னா. But for a matter, if the number of juniors are more, then you may not be able to give 12% days. It may be even more, depending on the complexity of work. So there comes a trade-off. இத வச்சு நம்ம எப்படி இத வந்து how are we going to come up with some reasonable and agreeable numbers? So that is where a fair measurable idea comes. Are we clear on this before you make things?
Yes. Okay. So so my summary is that you need you need some kind of relative measurement. There has to be some value attached to that. Okay, whatever you
Exactly.
So even in a project, if you say 10, 12, 13, 14, it has to be in terms of person hours or person days or man, whatever it is, however it is measured in project. And other when you can actually estimate how much time will it take for you to complete that project,
Correct.
whether it can be done, not done, and all that. So some form of measurement is always there, because if that measurement is not there, you cannot monitor that project.
Correct.
And if something goes wrong, then it becomes difficult to kind of control or mitigate whatever has come out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You cannot monitor. If you cannot monitor, you cannot control. If you cannot monitor and control, forget the success.
Forget the success. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Deal over.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah. And from a very, very sensitive industry that you are working, which is airlines, airports, and maybe which is even linked to the national security, monitoring and controlling is of paramount importance. No ifs and buts, no negligence.
Absolutely. Correct. Understandable.
Okay. So I'm coming to this. Okay, yeah. You like the examples given?
Yes, very much.
Okay, yeah. Now we have now understood what is estimation. Okay, yeah. What is basis of measurement? The measurement number see, basically it's a dimension. What kind of dimension is it? Is it hours, minutes, seconds, kilograms? The MKS SI units so basically you are arriving at some agreeable numbers.
Just give me a minute, just a minute. Only sir, Sorry, Amma Peshna. Sorry, it was my mother on the line.
You are driving the project to arrive at agreeable numbers on how we can get things done. See, basically the deal is all about getting things done. Getting things done. Whatever it is. Even you can talk about the work and you can also talk about certain other things also. But the finest definitions about ensuring that that is done. If it is open-ended, then a lot of unwanted noise will be created as to why is it undone, why are you not doing it, what are the impediments, what could have been done. So to avoid all of that, to ensure that we are steering in the right direction, by steering in the agreeable direction, we are getting all these numbers. Okay. So now let us actually try to understand what are some types of estimations. Okay. In the estimation layer, I'm just scribbling something for you here. There is something called as rough order of magnitude. The rough order of magnitude is also called as ROM. Okay, yeah. Idoda range வந்து எப்படின்னு பார்த்தேன்னாக்க 25% to 75%. சொல்லுங்க தெரியுமா சார்? அது வருவான்டா, பாத்துக்கலாம்டா, அந்த சமயத்துல பாத்துக்கலாம். இப்போதைக்கு வந்து இந்த பண்ணி வை, இன்னைக்கு இதை போட்டு வை, நமக்கு தேவை இருந்தா நாளைக்கு அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாம். சார் இன்னைக்கு இந்த கல்யாணத்துக்கு வந்து 10 பால் பேக்கெட் எல்லாம் வைக்காத, 45 வச்சு வை, தேவை இருந்தா அப்புறம் அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாம், சாயங்காலத்துக்கு அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாம். See, can you understand what is the level of difference in magnitude between 10 and 45? It is around 35, it is around 350%. So I'm giving you an example. This is called as rough order of magnitude. This conventional mota-moti estimation sir. You're just trying to understand to ensure that there are no sub-level values. In typical of marriage as a project, if you are conducting, these kind of estimations also need to be present. இன்னைக்கு பார்த்தா 1500 பேர் கல்யாணத்துக்கு வருவா சார், ஆனா நான் சமையல் பண்ணது 1200, மத்தவங்க ஈரத்துண்டு கட்டின்னு போவானா? And marriage is the only place to make a first impression. Okay, so this is the basic science behind it. It's about human satisfaction, and it's also about convergence to the accepted norm.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So இது இன்னொன்னு பார்த்தேன்னாக்கா வந்து there is something called as definitive estimation. The definitive estimation பார்த்துன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், it is around 5% to 10%.
Okay.
The range of accuracy is within 5 to 10%. நம்ம சொல்லுவோம் தெரியுமா, டாலரன்ஸ், ஃபிட்ஸ், இதெல்லாம் அந்த ஷாப் ஃப்ளோர்ல பேசுவோம், கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கீங்களா?
ஆமா கரெக்ட்.
டாலரன்ஸ், ஃபிட்ஸ், லிமிடேஷன் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம் தெரியுமா?
ஆமா
இதெல்லாம் வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா 5% to 10%. அதாவது for aerospace and marine components, a shortage of the alignment towards the tolerance is narrower.
Correct.
If a rivet which is around 2 mm to be fit in, the agreeable norm is 2.2 mm. If it is 3 mm, it is rejected.
Correct. And correct. And I relate this to, when we were also kind of just 1 minute. When we were also writing our academic material, we were told that the tolerance levels for your plagiarism is between 5 to 7%.
Correct. This is called as definitive estimation.
Okay.
It's a very important science and project management, sir. இன்னைக்கு வந்து the point is, புக்க திறந்து படிக்கிறது நமக்கு வந்து காசு கொடுக்க வேண்டியதா இருக்கு. அப்ப படிச்சிட்ட அப்புறம் எனக்கு வேலை இல்லாத போயிடுமே.
Correct. Right.
படிக்காதனால எனக்கு வேலை இருக்கு. Okay,
No, and it's very, very interesting, Seshadri, that you have a lot of examples from real life that when we map these concepts become very, very easier to understand. Only thing is, when we are also learning project estimations or we are learning estimations, it is very focused on software and technology and things like that people find it at times very difficult to understand. Somebody from a layman's perspective will not understand, but when you bring in the real life scenarios, your marriage example is a very apt example. For 1,500 people, what is the maximum? How many should I cook? And that happens even in airlines. So, for example, if you have a 250 passengers, they will say, okay, let us cater for about 230 passengers, because we presume that 20 people will not eat because it's a flight leaving at 2 o'clock in the morning. Correct. Okay, that's historical calculation is there basis, okay, they have been seeing trends and all that. That's a separate thing. But estimation is there in real life for us to see. And I think, that way these concepts become more easier to understand than to get into actual estimation right from day one. The typical project.
Or estimate, sir. How can you lead a life without estimation?
Absolutely understandable.
பிறக்கும் போதே வந்து பிரம்மதேவன் வந்து இந்த பிறவி இவன் பிறக்கும் போது இத்தனை கிரெயின் ஆஃப் ரைஸ் தான் சாப்பிடணும், இத்தனை ஜலம் தான் குடிக்கணும், in this form இவ்வளவு சாப்பிடணும், அந்த அக்செப்டன்ஸ் கிரைட்டீரியா லைன் ஐட்டம்ல எழுதி வச்சுட்டு தான் கொடுத்துறது. கரெக்ட். So அதெல்லாம் அக்செப்டன்ஸ் கிரைட்டீரியா. நீங்க வந்து I am talking about it from சிருஷ்டி ஸ்திதி விநாசம்ங்கிறது வந்து அது தேவி மகாத்மியத்தை நிறைய இருக்கு. அதான் சொன்னேன், இத பத்தி பேசணும்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், ஒரு யுகம் பத்தாது. அவ்வளவு சயின்ஸ் இருக்குதுக்குள்ள. கடலுக்கும் கடலானது. So அப்படி இருக்கும்போது if I am saying that I know this and I understand this, either I do not know estimation or I am making a fool of myself. Correct. So இதான் விஷயம். So we are actually trying to understand the kinds and what are the values which we are adhering to. Now let us make the topic bit more complex. Okay, சரி. இப்ப நான் சொல்றேன் உங்களுக்கு. இப்ப நீங்க வந்து உங்க ப்ராஜெக்டோட வந்து let us say we are doing a Sabre APU integration. Okay. அதே சமயத்துல அமெடியஸும் ஒர்க் பண்றான். ஓகேயா? இல்ல சீதாக்காரனும் வந்து வாய் மூடிட்டு இருக்க மாட்டான், நானும் வரேன் மூக்க நுழைப்பான். கரெக்டா? ரெவென்யூ மேனேஜ்மெண்ட், ரெவென்யூ என்ன சொல்லுவீங்க, ரெவென்யூ மேனேஜ்மெண்ட் அண்ட் தென் ரெவென்யூ வாட் இஸ் தட் பேக் எண்ட் ரெவென்யூ அக்கவுண்ட். இவரும் சும்மா இருக்க மாட்டான். எனக்கு இது ஏன்னா வந்து எனக்கு ஒரு தடவை வந்து கொஞ்சம் நீங்க என்ன சொல்றது, கிரெயின்ஸை நீங்க கொட்டினால புறாவோ கிளியோ வராம இருக்காது, வரதான் செய்யுங்க. இப்ப நான் வந்து நான் இந்த மாதிரி ப்ராஜெக்ட்ல தான் ஆக்சுவலா ஒர்க் பண்ணி இந்த சவுதி அரேபியன் ஏர்லைன்ஸ்ல எல்லாம் 4 பேர் சேர்ந்து வந்துட்டாங்க அதுல. இப்ப நமக்கு என்னன்னாக்க, இஃப் ஐ எம் டாக்கிங் அபவுட் அமெடியஸ் இன்டகிரேஷன், நீங்க ப்ரீவியஸா அமெடியஸ் இன்டகிரேஷன் வந்து யூ ஹவ் டேக்கன் 6 months. ஓகேயா? Now someone says சார் நீங்க அம்மைடியஸ் இன்டகிரேஷன் பட்டீங்க, நான் இப்ப அப்பாடியஸ் இன்டகிரேஷன் கொடுக்குறேன் அப்படின்னு நீங்க என்ன பண்ணுவீங்க?
You will take another 6 months.
நீங்க வந்து அம்மாடியஸ் இன்டகிரேஷன் வந்து 6 மாசம் பண்ணிட்டேன்டா, அப்ப அப்பா இன்டகிரேஷன் நிச்சயமா 6 months ஆர் மேபி ஏதோ ஒரு நாலேஜ் எனக்கு இருக்கு. அம்மாக்கே வந்து 6 மாசம் பண்ணும்போது அப்பாவுக்கு வந்து மேபி வித்தின் தட் ரேஞ்ச் ஒரு 7 to 8 months போட்டுறான் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி கொடுப்போமா மாட்டோமா?
Correct.
How did you arrive at that number 78?
It may be basis the effort that you have estimated in the previous project. Okay, my understanding of this is
Brilliant.
or you may say, yeah, or it may be that it could even be lesser because you feel a lot of the components that are there in those 6 month projects can be reused here, making this faster.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That is precisely the point I wanted to arrive at. See, you have done something of this kind in the past.
Correct.
Okay. And you know that to do something